So consider this question. When did the adversary begin his reign over humanity? For the answer, let's go back to Bereshit, chapter 3, beginning with verse 1, which reads, "Now the serpent," we're going to stop right there, okay? So we're going to take a look at this term that is used and translated as serpent. Now, we'll turn and once again prepare the board for us. Now the serpent. Now keep in mind, we read through Revelation chapter 12, few passages, and one of those passages was verse 9. In verse 9, it says that the dragon was cast out. And then it refers to him as that old serpent called the devil and Satan. That old serpent, the reason why it says that old serpent is because what it's going back to is the situation that occurred in the garden. So now, the term is Nachash. Nachash, and you find it in number 5175 of your Strong's. Okay? What it simply means is a snake. But then it says from its hiss in parentheses. So it also references us to number 5172. Now number 5172 is spelled exactly the same way. Let me just get the number up here for you. And when we get to 5172, which is still Nachash, this is the primitive root, and it says properly to hiss. And remember in 5175 it said a snake from its hiss. So remember 5172, it means to hiss. That is whisper a spell. And it has in parentheses here, magic spell. We're going to touch on both of these definitions based on what the parent root is. So the parent root is your nun and your chet. So your nun, once again, is your seed, and your chet, which we've seen before, is your fence. Okay? The chet. Okay. And again, fence, or in some sense a wall. Okay. So, taking a look at the properties of a seed, once again we have the meaning attached to that being continuance, continuity. Because a seed is used for propagation to continue a species, as we mentioned earlier. But the fence, now we're going to look at this twofold. Now, in one sense, it means reaching a stop. Because this same nun chet is actually the way you spell Noah, or Noah, okay, whose name means rest. But now we say a continuous halted, because fence means that you reach a stop, or wall meaning that you reach a stop. So we have continuous halted. That means, now here's what we have to do. Taking your mind back to the ancient way of thinking, especially when it refers to the Hebraic way of thinking, or the Hebrew language, which is a concrete language. What we find is that it means something that we can relate to. So imagine being on a journey, and then you come to a barrier or a fence that now causes you to stop. And when you stop, now what do? You rest. Okay? And then the association with the hissing is the sigh of relief that many people often would do when they reach that point of rest. So from that's where you get the definition of the hissing. And the hissing, because of that, it ties into the sound that a serpent would make. Okay? So now that's one thing. But it also, the word nachash means to prognosticate. Now what it means to prognosticate is to foretell from signs or symptoms to predict. Okay? So that's where you get whisper, a magic spell. Alright? Now you still have to some degree the hissing effect, because you got that effect, the whispering. But also, you still have the seed representing continuum, but now the definition of offense for the prognosticate, it changes. Because not only does offense stop you, offense also separates the inside from the outside. Okay? Now the thought here is to continue outside. Continue outside. Alright? Now how does that relate to prognostication? Now think about, if to prognosticate means to foretell the future, when we continue outside, the outside in reference to a concrete thinker, especially in regarding time. When you talk about foretelling the future, prognosticate or divine, divination, that means that you are continuing outside the realm of time. Okay, that's where the thought comes from for prognostication. So when you look at those, both of those to some degree can tie into that serpent. Now what we're questioning here in this first verse, which begins the explanation of how the adversary gained the power over humanity. Now, back to verse 1, it says, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. Now, the fact that it uses the term subtle implies that it had wisdom. Okay? Which Yahweh Elohim had made. Now, when we think about this particular story here, then we run into actually another problem. Now you have cynics, the likes of Bill Maher. You have skeptics such as the scientist, I believe he's supposed to be a well-renowned scientist, Richard Dawkins. When they get to this particular point in the story, they refer to it as the talking snake. I overheard Bill Maher on one of his shows. He was questioning somebody who believed in the Bible. So you mean to tell me you believe in the talking snake? So now, there's a few problems with that. Here's a question. How many of you believe in the talking snake? Okay, think about that. How many of you believe that this situation actually happened? Now, there are 2 points that I wanted to make regarding this. One is a point about the Bible. When you get into the Word, the Bible speaks in 2 ways. One, it speaks literally. It speaks literally based on the historic narrative. Okay? It also speaks figuratively. Now, if I can briefly, or prophetically, if you will. Now, it speaks prophetically in one sense. Whenever we read in the Bible that somebody has a dream or a vision, that is prophetic. And what I mean by that is sometimes in the dream or the vision, things are symbolic. And it doesn't mean that it actually happened. It is symbolizing something else. Okay? For example, when we look at the dream that the Pharaoh had, when Joseph was down in Egypt, and he had a dream about the fat cows and the lean cows, how